This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. NFL free agency heating up. March Madness is upon us. It's Wednesday. Let's get to it. Whitlock is convinced that the Cowboys will regret releasing Tony Romo because he needs to see more from Dak Prescott. Come on, J-Dubs. I've tried to tell you, they can't build a defense with Romo's contract on the books. 13-3 with Dak. Get a defense, they'll be good. I smell dynasty. Our guy for everything hoops, Chris Broussard, is here to remind us that the Thunder are 25-6 when Russell Westbrook gets a triple-double. But he hasn't got one the last 4 games against lottery-bound teams, and they're 0-4. They're not winning 50 games, Broussard. Westbrook's not your MVP. I'll get to that a little bit later. Cowherd breaks down why Kevin Garnett is a much better NBA player than Dirk Nowitzki. Stats be damned. Pro Football Hall of Famer Chris Carter breaks down how Brandon Marshall and Odell Beckham Jr. could be a great partnership just like he was with Randy Moss. Eric Davis joins the debate. We mix it up about the best landing spots for Tony Romo. Folks, it is Houston. Happy wife, happy life. Ready for Speak For Yourself? Cowherd and Whitlock, take it away.
All right, welcome to the show. Colin thinks Westbrook's 58-point game actually hurt his case for MVP.
And Jason thinks the Cowboys are about to make a huge mistake. Speak For Yourself starts right now.
You're crazy about Westbrook.
I think I'm going to have some people agreeing with me on this show.
It's like a woman being too good looking. Can't happen. Hello and welcome. We're joined today by Hall of Famer Chris Carter and former NFL head coach Eric Mangini. Let's start in Dallas, where there are multiple reports that Tony Romo will be released by the Cowboys tomorrow, barring a strong trade offer in the next 24 hours. Despite his recent injury problems, Romo will have several suitors, including quality teams like Denver and Houston. Colin, will the Cowboys regret cutting Romo?
Well, I just want to stay on the word regret, because the NFL, to me in the NFL, regret is missing an opportunity. We almost had that offensive coordinator and he went to the Broncos. We almost had that wide receiver and the Patriots drafted him. That feels like regret. You miss an opportunity. Then there's reality. 37-year-old, brittle, expensive backup quarterback. I don't know if that rises to regret. I think that's the reality of the NFL, that you're constantly paring down based on salary, players you like, but they're not playing enough, or they're too expensive, or they're a little brittle. That doesn't feel like regret. That feels like, doesn't matter who you are. Bill Belichick's got to do that. Bill Belichick's let go of great players.
I'm going to speak for Jerry Jones. He's going to regret it. He loves Tony Romo. He would like to keep Tony Romo. He had the ideal quarterback situation, a tremendous backup quarterback, a Super Bowl caliber team with a great backup quarterback. Romo's going to go to a very good team, and if he's able to make it healthy, I think he's going to be successful. And Jerry Jones, I'm not going to speak for all the Cowboys, but Jerry Jones will regret letting him go.
I think if Tony Romo stays healthy, Jerry's going to be sick. He's going to be sick because the things that he's able to do when he's healthy, when he's playing well, he can go and he can win a lot of games. And then if Dak gets hurt or if anything happens to the situation that they have there, and I understand what you're saying about regret, but they have a quarterback. The quarterback's not very expensive right now. He's in a backup role. Look, I get that they may want to move on.
You don't like this move, do you?
No, I just think that
it doesn't help the team.
You're giving away an asset that doesn't cost you a lot, that gives you insurance at the hardest position in the NFL to fill. I don't see how that makes sense.
You've been saying this for a long time, and what I believe is that Jerry's personal relationship, and he gets so close to the players, not like Bill in New England. Bill is close and has relationships with them, but the business goes first. And what's best for the team will go first. If this was the Patriots situation, they would keep him. They would keep him as a backup unless someone traded for him or create value, because I'm like you. They're going to regret, unless they have the same type of regular season they had this year. Because we know guy gets nicked, and we know you're going to need a backup. Who's going to be the backup in Dallas? So they're going to be back to having the great starter and not having a backup like they were in before. So I understand that over the next 2 years, yes, Jerry Jones will have some regret.
It is interesting with Dallas. The one thing that where I understand what you're saying is if you look at their schedule, we already know who they're going to play. We don't know what the dates are, right? It's the toughest schedule in the league. It's a first-place schedule. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that we know their schedule is going to be tougher. Secondly, they're going to sneak up on nobody. Third, now I see these NFL coaches. 1 year, the Wildcat is introduced. Woo! Next year, all these smart coaches have a year to look at it. It's ineffective. It's possible that Dak takes a 10% drop back. Every
or
defensive
20%. Again, I'm going to rouse
Or Zeke, too.
I'm going to rouse.
Because they could take away some of that running game and force them to throw the ball more.
Look, I'm going to rouse CC up a little bit more. I know you were a fourth-round pick, but that was a different situation than Dak Prescott. Again, I get what he showed for 16 games, but he still was evaluated as a fourth-round player. He goes into an ideal situation, the best offensive line, great running back, great receivers.
His coaches
What's going to happen? Because adversity, football always humbles you and puts you through some adversity. That offensive line at some point will back up. Dez may get hurt. I want to see Dak Prescott. I need more proof. And I love what Dak did, but I want more proof, and that's why I would have held on to Romo.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at the round as being an indicator of what his value is. Look, as evaluators, we make mistakes all the time because you're dealing with human beings. And Tony Romo, what was he, a free agent? So he's replacing a free agent. There are a lot of mistakes made. Now, will he have the year that he had? Everybody's evaluating him. Everybody's looking at the tape. Everybody's looking at what's successful against him. And defensive coordinators will catch up to the things he's done. Hopefully he will. To me, it's more about if he goes down the preseason like we saw in Minnesota, or he goes down right before the playoffs like we saw in Oakland. You're giving away Tony Romo for $5 million and you get nothing back.
All right, to New York, where the Giants just signed free agent receiver Brandon Marshall, talented guy, to a 2-year deal. He was cut by the crosstown rival Jets. Now, Marshall, who has overcome a troubled past and some mental illness, will now join forces with Odell Beckham Jr., who had his own struggles with erratic behavior. That's last year. Jason, will Marshall be a positive influence on OBJ?
I think he will be a positive influence. However, that doesn't mean OBJ is going to react positively to Brandon Marshall being on the team. He's now got another guy in the spotlight. He's never played opposite a true number 2 receiver who's like a 1B more than a 2. Brandon Marshall's going to command a lot of respect from the media, a lot of media attention. He's very familiar with New York. He's very well spoken. He does television for Inside the NFL. It'll be interesting. Odell Beckham likes the spotlight.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall will be a positive influence, but will Odell Beckham like sharing the spotlight?
It's very interesting because that team, they're on TV enough. I know they need a left tackle or to upgrade. They need 2 linebackers. They need a rush end. There's things they need. $6 million is pretty good price for Brandon Marshall. He had 1,500 yards 2 years ago. But it does tell me this, that they went out and got him this quickly, is they do think somebody needs to be in-house for Odell Beckham. Like, they've made it a priority. We needed to get this veteran receiver. You know that when that story about the boat happened, right?
Yeah.
Ship happens, as the New York papers called it. When the boat story happened, a lot of us were like, it's no big deal. But then it was a deal. And then the more and more stuff that leaked out between people that know people, and you find out that he is kind of erratic in the locker room. So the Giants' urgency to get Brandon Marshall leads me to believe it's not quiet. There's a storm outside and a little storm inside.
Well, was Odell being erratic a secret? Like nobody knew that?
But we've tried to, a lot of people in the media have tried to suppress it. Like it's being overstated. I think it's really very prominent.
And here's the thing that I'll say with Brandon is I like the progress he's made as a person, at least what I've seen from the outside looking in. But that being said, he's been with 5 teams. He had problems last year when he was with the Jets. Whether or not he's going to be a positive influence, I have no idea. I don't know which guy they're getting. In terms of Odell sharing the spotlight, there's only really one spotlight in New York, and that's going to shine on him. I don't think that's going to be an issue. To me, it's more what does Brandon bring to the locker room? Is he the mature person that we've seen grow, or is he the guy that's been with 5 teams and had issues?
A lot of icing in that New York locker room.
Yeah, let's talk about the potential to fit in opposite of Odell. Because Odell he gets a double team at least 75% of the pass plays. He gets a double team, cover 2, some version of that. Brandon Marshall, being the number 2 guy, he's still a dominant receiver. Physically, he's dominating. can play outside. They had a hard time with Victor Cruz and Shepard because they're both really slot receivers. Odell's not above 6 foot. So they got 3 guys last year, and they were 11-5. You know, not any of those guys above 6 foot. So Brandon Marshall is a great, tangible asset opposite of Odell. Because if you double Odell and you give Brandon's going to be really good against one-on-one coverage. The other spot where I believe Brandon's really going to help Odell is those shots that we see Odell on the sideline. You have a veteran receiver who's done a lot of the same things emotionally, lost control under the spotlight as the marquee guy. He will be there as a buffer to be able to help him. The third thing, I think he helps him with the media. So you don't have to do his media requests because you can split them up. That's the way Randy Moss and I. So it wasn't as much pressure on Randy because I could do some interviews. So they couldn't get both of us most of the time, so they'd be able to get one of us. So there's some push-pull. I believe there's some benefits, and especially at this age that Brandon's at. I got a lot of faith that he'll make this work.
But if Beckham is being double-teamed, as you accurately state, that means Marshall in single coverage is going to have a nice year because Eli...
Yes.
Okay, so what happens if in Week 12, Brandon Marshall's the player of the week, and he's got 74 catches, and Beckham has 62 and gets double-teamed and gets frustrated?
Listen, with Eli Manning in that offense, you can't stop Odell Beckham. You see that because eventually, if they have some type of running game, eventually you're going to put 7 guys in a box. Eventually, he's going to crease you. We saw that. Couldn't get the ball, then he makes a big play. That's still going to be his MO, and he's a dynamic player.
You know what we're missing here? This puts a lot of pressure to me on Eli Manning. It'll be put up or shut up. He's got 2 great receiving weapons now. He needs to deliver, or, I mean, clearly he's towards the end of his career. But if he doesn't deliver, there's going to be a lot of criticism on Eli Manning, I think.
And it's fair.
Eli's put up. The guy's won 2 Super Bowls. He played pretty well.
He's fallen into 2 Super Bowls.
You don't like Eli. You don't like Eli.
Welcome back. Chris Carter's back with us, Hall of Famer. Chris Broussard, NBA guru. Let's move to Oklahoma City, not literally, where Russell Westbrook went off last night, dropped a career-high 58 at home. Thunder still somehow managed to lose to the Trailblazers despite his monumental scoring night. Westbrook struggled in crunch time. What do you know? Missed several open shots down the stretch. All right, Jace, did that night help ensure an MVP run or hurt his case?
How does 58 points on a Tuesday night hurt? The guy is playing hard night after night after night. He played a terrific game, shot 21 of 39 from the field. It was a dominant performance. Yeah. It's like, how can you complain about 58 points?
Because it illustrated what has been my point, is nobody is denying he plays hard. By the way, that's like the Chris Rock joke. I love my kids. Oh, yeah, you're supposed to. He played hard. Well, okay, congrats.
That doesn't win you an MVP.
Okay, secondly, nobody's denying he's dynamic. Nobody's denying he's absolutely a brilliant, brilliant NBA talent. What we're saying is, does he make people better? Last night illustrates my point. Almost 60 and can't beat a lousy team at home. By the way, when he scores over 40, Melo's got a winning record. Kobe does. Durant does. Curry does. LeBron does. Harden does. You know who doesn't? Westbrook. By the way, when he shoots 9 or more three-pointers in a game, 5 and 29. You know how they call
all up in the stat book today.
No, but I mean,
but they are 25 and 6 when he gets a triple-double. And that is the crux of the argument for him to win MVP. Triple-double. I'm with you. Look, it hurt last night, not because he scored 58 and they lost, but because they lost.
Yeah.
Like, I think James Harden's having a better season. But if Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double and they get 48, 49 wins or so, I almost feel like I got to give it to him. A triple-double, Magic didn't do it. LeBron didn't do it. Bert, none of them have done it. And your team would be winning. Now they're losing. They lost 4 straight. They're on pace to win 44 games. That probably isn't enough to get you the MVP.
LeBron had 30 and 17 this week. Sorry he didn't get a triple-double. I know we love catchy.
He lost that game, to Miami.
But you're ripping him. But
I'm not ripping him.
So,
but just point out that he lost in a huge performance, too. The triple-double is just a historic. It's become the most hallowed stat in basketball.
It's become overrated. It's become We're talking about that.
Why hasn't anybody done it?
There are more rebounds. And to your point, no one is doing it. I just think there's a little Russell fatigue. Now, is that fair? It's not really fair. Like, he didn't pick the team. He didn't make Durant leave. Now, Durant leaving made Russell look bad. So a lot of times in a situation like this, he gets 58. If you don't like Russell, it hurts his case. If you like Russell, it helps his case. He's having a phenomenal season. He would go down in history with the two other players, Moses Malone and Kareem, as being the only MVPs that are less than a 4th seed. So he's having...
Kareem, they had a losing record.
Yeah, but what about the
MVP
law of
award.
diminishing returns? After a while, you get sick if you eat too much ice cream. You know the guy that invented Baskin-Robbins had a heart attack. He ate ice cream every day. That's a true story. I looked it up.
You get sick of a triple-double?
No, what I'm telling you is...
You don't get sick of a triple-double?
Law of diminishing returns. He's averaged 40 in the last 4 games. They're 0-4. I know he can score. Why don't you give me 21 assists?
They're not a great team, though.
To your point,
They were.
I saw Kanye last week in Santa Monica, too. 2 years ago, I'd have ran up to him. Nah, last week didn't run up to him.
Listen, Colin, I gotta admit, you have a legitimate point in terms of when he turns into volume scorer, it doesn't equal victories. Again, the triple-double equals victory. He wasn't really sharing the ball last night. Steven Adams got 2 shots last night. That bothered me.
He took 30 more shots, I think, than any teammate. In the last 10 years, that's happened one other game. Kobe's last game.
Michael Jordan averaged 27. Hold on.
Kobe's last game.
Michael Jordan averaged 27 shots a game one year.
Yeah, and
So
Michael...
let's not act like... Now, he did shoot 50%.
Yeah, that's my
averaged
point.
27
Okay, let's
shots a
say
game.
we give Westbrook the MVP, and then we take the emotion out of it, and then the following football season we talk about it. So we're 6 months removed, we're not emotionally involved. You will have given the MVP to a 42% shooting point guard who leads the league in turnovers and has the 11th best team in the league.
I think Harden leads the league in turnovers, but you're close.
Iverson shot 42% when he won it.
Yeah, and shouldn't have.
Award. That year he shouldn't have won it?
Derrick Rose shouldn't have won it. You media guys, you're in the, you know what, you're behind the velvet rope. You
So
media
LeBron,
guys-
let's give it to LeBron every year. Is that what you're saying?
By the way, if Facebook's the #1 company on the internet, why can't you say every year, Facebook's the #1 company on the internet? This whole thing is LeBron fatigue.
All right, welcome back to the show. Joining the panel now, we have Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. Eric, children are watching. I need you to button up that shirt. And the founder of the big league, Jason McIntyre. All right, let's return to Dallas, where it is being reported that the Cowboys will release Tony Romo when free agency officially begins tomorrow. Romo's future has been the subject of rampant speculation, with Romo reportedly specifying Denver, Houston, Kansas City, and Arizona as his preferred destinations. Colin, what's the best landing spot for Romo?
I love Arizona, and I love Kansas City, and I love Houston. But he's going to end up in Denver, I think, because they're paying Carson Palmer still a lot in Arizona, Alex Smith a lot in Kansas City, and Brock Osweiler a ton in Houston. And Denver, because they're a very well-run organization, isn't paying Trevor Siemian anything, and Paxton Lynch not that much. So I think this is a classic example of be careful in your life what you spend big money on. John Elway has spent big money on a pass rusher, like Von Miller, a couple of really good corners. He spent his money. He's really spent his money wisely. What he hasn't spent money on is his young quarterbacks yet. And so I think Denver looks at it and says, we got a $10 million spot here for Tony Romo if he can stay upright. Houston should have him. Houston could pay him $15 million and then butcher the Brock Osweiler. But Houston's not a well-run business.
Go ahead.
So I think Denver is the spot in terms of Tony wants to win right now and win championships, and financially they have an advantage as well in terms of what they can pay him. I love him going to Denver. I think there is an argument for Houston. I don't think my Kansas City Chiefs will be interested. I think the Chiefs are going to draft a rookie quarterback. They're not going to go out and sign a veteran.
The arguments that you guys have, I agree with. Houston is a spot that would work for him if they had the money, if they hadn't put so much money into a bad quarterback position already. But you can't go there. Tony Romo can't go there because he would have to deal with all the controversy of being there. And this is the thing that I just heard you say. Everyone is assuming Tony wants to chase that ring. If he wanted to chase the ring, Tony would stay on the Dallas Cowboys. He has a better chance out of all these teams. Tony wants to start. That's why there are teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars. You look at the wide receivers that he has there, those young, the Allens there.
No. What about Tony wants to be upright?
Hold on. Well,
winning is fun.
Okay, winning is fun, but upright. You look at the Denver Broncos line. Okay,
Bad.
It's not a good line.
A brand new staff.
They gave up
24th in the league.
Yeah, they gave up 40 sacks last year, and we're all talking about if he can stay upright. So I mean, you look at that. Even a team like Minnesota, some dark horses. Like I said, I like what you're saying, but why not Minnesota? I'm not sure that Zim is in love with Bradford.
Denver doesn't make a lot of sense outside of I like John Elway a lot and trust him.
And he did it with another old quarterback.
That's right.
Forgetting about a major component here. Happy wife, happy life. Houston is only an hour plane ride from Dallas. Tony Romo's got a baby on the way. He's got 2 little kids. If he goes down the road to Houston with a better offensive line, better offensive weapons, don't you believe
money.
I would take less money to go to Houston than
Tony
Denver?
Romo makes enough money, and it doesn't matter where he goes, to where his wife is going to pack up and come with him. His kids aren't
For
at
a
the age.
year or two?
His kids aren't. Yes, because his kids aren't at an age to where you have to worry about. I did it. You at a certain age, you have to worry about what school is your kid going to be into.
We just
and you
moved
don't want
across the country.
You don't want him to go half year one place, half another when this football season is going on and when it ends. His kids aren't at that age, so none of those things are an issue.
But the guy spent the last decade, though, in
Yes,
Dallas.
and it's
He's
over.
got family, friends.
Of course.
He's the mayor of Dallas,
do you think it's a good fit?
Do I think what's a
Like
good fit?
Denver, bad O-line, rookie
I don't
coach.
think I don't think it's a good fit.
I don't either.
The O-line, and then you have to deal with the weather, Tony Romo outside, bad back, all of those issues.
14 new
bad
coaches.
collarbone, all of those things are going to come
there's
into
also
play. I don't think it's a good
two fellas by
fit.
the name of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa.
I know.
Who are going to be
That-
chasing him around
That
4
division's
games.
got-
The AFC South is maybe the worst division in football.
A
The
young
Colts defense,
quarterback in Denver holding on to the football. I think a veteran quarterback behind that offensive line, getting rid of the ball on time. I think we're beating up on Denver's offensive line a little too much. And again,
They got beat up by a lot of defensive lines.
when
That's
you
why I'm beating up on their
when
O-line.
you have a great defense, it allows you to play differently on offense. I think Denver just makes too much sense.
Denver did not run the football particularly well last year either.
They all got hurt, yeah.
Man, we have when Peyton Manning went to Denver, the O-line was good. The division was awful at the time. Sure. Kansas City and Oakland were rebuilding. The other thing is they had a veteran coach. Now you have a rookie coach. That's a thing. So my offensive line, they didn't run the football. The division's now maybe the best. A defensive head coach who's a rookie. I'm telling you, he's going there for Elway.
Colin, you keep looking at that Houston-New England playoff game. You guys remember that? 1-score game in the fourth quarter,
Yep.
and Brock Osweiler implodes. 2 interceptions. If you're the Houston ownership, you've got to look at that and say, man, we did that without J.J. Watt.
If you're the
okay,
Houston-
J.J. Watt's back next year. Clowney. This is a contender.
I agree.
With Tony Romo.
I agree.
If he can stay upright, and then you go right back to playing with your backup. And that's a part of it. I still say the AFC South, you're right, stay in that division, but we keep sleeping on Jacksonville. That's a very talented locker room.
To Dallas, where last night Dirk Nowitzki became the 6th player in NBA history to score 30,000 points. USA Today just ranked Dirk the 4th greatest power forward of all time, 1 spot behind Kevin Garnett. You see there, they stack up pretty evenly, each with 1 title and 1 MVP, and Garnett only 1 edging Dirk in All-Star games. Colin, who's had a better career, Dirk or KG?
Garnett. One of the.
You just said that laughing.
Put that graphic up again. Put that graphic up one more time. You know what that graphic doesn't tell you? One of those guys played defense. One didn't.
Let me
Kevin
tell you
Garnett,
what that
12.
graph doesn't tell you either. That graphic doesn't tell you. One of those guys carried a poor team to an NBA championship over LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh in their prime.
In their first year when the chemistry was still
in
a
their
mess.
first year. Oh, now that's the excuse.
12 times in Kevin Garnett's career. 12 times. Who votes on all defense?
The media.
Okay, well, they don't know anything. But the point being, 12 times the media said,
Right.
that Kevin Garnett, that's the best defensive forward in the league. 9 times, and 3 other times are like, well, he's second best.
What about 15 times in the playoffs? Now, I witnessed the kid being birthed in Minnesota, and I watched him put that franchise on his back night after night, misery after misery, playing the best basketball. Like, he wasted a lot of good stuff there in Minnesota. But Dirk being a better player, now Dirk's probably the best European player that we've seen.
Yes.
And a great credit, and they have a championship in Dallas. But you can't discredit what KG has done.
You got KG.
I'm not discrediting
I'm going
KG.
with the kid.
By the way,
I'm
when
going
they,
with
when
the
they
big
let me
ticket.
tell you something. Kevin Garnett won a final. If Kevin Garnett
With
does,
Paul Pierce and Ray Allen.
well, you know,
you
you
win with
generally
players.
okay. But if Kevin
Not Dirk.
Garnett, if Ron, I think it was at Meta World Peace, doesn't hit a crazy jumper, he wins his second. And if KG doesn't get hurt in Boston his second year, they win a third.
Or if Kendrick doesn't get hurt that year in Game 7. Kendrick Perkins. I'll give
ghost of Jason Terry and J.J. Barrera.
I'll give you
Barrera. That's who Dirk carried.
Yeah, he was insane in the finals.
I will give you this, Jason, because I'm with KG slightly, because I think it's close. But you're right. If you compare and nitpick whose finals win was more impressive, it was Dirk. Because, hold on, he had Jason Kidd at 37 years old. Then you had good players, Jason Terry, Shawn Marion, Caron Butler, but you beat a big three, a historic big three, just by yourself as a superstar. And so that was more impressive. But Kevin Garnett, the defense, you hit it on the head. Beyond that, he was a part of a historic team.
Yeah.
We're going to remember that Boston Big Three, not necessarily as one of the greatest teams of all time, but we will remember that Big Three.
You know
we
what,
won't remember Dallas.
Dallas taking out LeBron the first time in Miami.
People remember it more for
No, 'cause he went
LeBron
on to get two
struggling.
afterwards.
People remember it more for LeBron
afterwards.
giving it away than they do for Dirk taking it.
I would argue
He
this.
pulled the pants down on the Big Three in their first year. It was one of the greatest things that ever happened. We all remember it, and we're just all
They're
forget
going to
it.
remember the Big Three in Boston.
And the next
more.
year, they got swept in the first round.
Well, who cares about the next year? And if we want to play the if game, if Dirk Nowitzki, if the referees hadn't come in and stolen the Miami series and kept sending Dwayne Wade to the line, come on, Chris, you know the refs.
I covered that series.
The refs came in and stole that series from
That's
Dallas.
a negative mark on Dirk's career. I don't think you look at KG and say, oh, he struggled here, he struggled there. Dirk, that series, they're up 2.5-0. They should have won Game 3 and it would have been over. They give it up and Dirk fades. And then the next year, after winning MVP 67 games, they go out in the first round to Golden State. Those are negatives that people remember in Dirk's narrative.
In the last 20 years, there have been 3 championships in sports that meant very little. Georgia Tech won a national championship in football. The White Sox won a World Series in 2005, and the Mavericks championship the next year, people forgot about it.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How can you sit it?
They're the least
not one, not two, not three, not four, and the Dallas Mavericks take them out, and no one remembers it?
The Mavericks series might keep LeBron from being the GOAT.
That's right. Just like I said about Dirk, in LeBron's narrative, there's always going to be those Dallas and Boston is last year.
Yeah, because we grant San Antonio.
There's always going to be those negatives.
San Antonio do that the most.
Okay, if they were both available today, everything you know, Dirk and KG are available, and you know their careers. Who you draft?
Listen, man.
KG, because he makes sure the guys are better.
And he plays defense.
And he's the juice in the locker room every night.
Every night.
Yes.
Every night.
Dirk never averaged.
He's
Call
intimidating.
your brother.
Tell me.
Call your brother.
I will call
Butch,
my brother who played
and
7
ask
years
him
in the NBA.
What the game of basketball is about.
I will.
Putting it in the hole.
416.
Dirk
I'll get him in Toronto. I
Nowitzki
got
could
him.
put it in the hole as damn near as good as anybody in basketball, but that doesn't matter.
Except
that doesn't
for
count.
like Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Kevin Durant.
You like Dirk Nowitzki. I can't even, some days I can't
He
figure
pulled
you
off
out.
one of the greatest things I've ever seen in
He
NBA
was
history.
the least decorated NBA champion
Ever.
in a long
Ever.
in modern
You know
history.
why? Because he was a one-man show. The ghost of Jason
Come on,
Kidd,
give
the
some
ghost
respect.
of
Give
Jason
some
Terry.
respect.
Ghost
big
Jason
ticket.
Terry was huge in that
The
series.
little Chihuahua, JJ Barrera.
No, it was. I'll give you. It was wildly
Took
impressive.
out
There's no question. I think it's close.
two
I don't think
of the
you
gr-
think it's a laugher. I think it's close.
No, I mean, but I'll
KG
say
Dirk,
this,
but
as
I'm
great,
slightly-
and I like Dirk,
KG.
but in the West alone,
This is not even close.
in the West
Defense.
alone, I can argue Malone, Duncan,
I
Sheed.
just thought of something.
What?
KG, Dirk, whose legacy will live the longest? What are the players mimicking? Dirk's style of play or KG's style
That's because you
of play?
can't mimic KG because he was so unique and authentic.
Ooh, that's a good.
Drop the mic.
Next segment.
He was actually talking about me, not KG. But.
This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Thanks for listening, everybody. Another good show in the books. Hey, I'm trying to get March Madness in the show. It's coming, I'm told. Cowherd's starting to weaken. I got Whitlock watching the Big East tournament. Also, hey, can I get in a quick word on the Giants' offensive line? I know everybody loves Brandon Marshall because you guys play fantasy football, blah, blah, blah. Their offensive line stinks. They can't run the football. Hey, while I'm rolling here, let me get at one more thought. Russell Westbrook, I did this video for FS1, how Russell Westbrook's fourth in the MVPs. I've already seen your tweets. Russell Westbrook is not winning the MVP. As the stat says, going back to 1982, every MVP in the NBA has had 50 or more wins. Westbrook ain't sniffing 50. He may get 45. Okay? He's not winning the MVP. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.